It has been a minute since I have filmed. My goodness. I feel foreign. You saw the title of the video. Let's get into it. I'm Michaela. I'm an artist and I specialize in painting and illustration and some other things here and there. I have not posted on this channel in about a year, I think. Last time I posted was maybe back in May, and it's December. We're a full week into December. It is currently the 7th as I'm filming this, and I randomly decided like 2 days ago to do ARTMAS. Very stupid decision of mine, but we're gonna try our best. If I only get like 2 videos out, it's better than what I did all year. Success is a success. So I wanna start my ARTMAS with just a little sit down video going over some good art gifts, because I feel like artists are one of the hardest things to buy gifts for. And I'm sorry that this video is coming out so late and you probably already bought gifts for your artists, but this could also be used for the birthday. Like, this is not only for Christmas. Not everybody gets gifts for Christmas. Not everybody has the time to get gifts this year. So this could be used for anything. I just noticed I didn't put any Christmas decorations up. I should have. That would have been really cute. I just want to put out like a really quick disclaimer before we really get into this. Artists are, when I say they're picky, I mean it. Every single artist is different. All artists are different. You can't get the same gift for certain artists. There's levels to it, okay? So my true honest tip is to just ask them what they want. All right, bye. No, but seriously, like, we're getting really close to the holiday, so I understand that it's like a little weird to be asking them what they want for Christmas now. But I would suggest, if you see something in this video and you really like it but you're not 100% sure, my tip is find a reel of somebody reviewing the product and then send it to your art friend and be like, hey, oh my gosh, this reminded me of you. Isn't this really cool? And see what their response is. If their response is, I guess, don't get it for them. But if they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, get it for them. Okay? That's my tip. All right, there's a few things you need to keep in mind as you're going through this list. You need to understand what type of artist they are, okay? Are they a beginner or are they experienced? How long have they been doing it? Are they just getting into it? Have they just talked about getting into it and you're gonna help them start their journey in art? Or have they been doing this for 10 plus years? Do they do it for a career? That's the second point. Do they do it for a career? Or is it just a hobby? If they do it for a career, are they on social media? Are they an influencer artist? Or do they have a career where they work for somebody's business? Do they just paint on their own and sell their paintings through whatever? Like, how do they do their art? Are they animators? What do they do? Have they mentioned trying doing something new? Like something outside of the box of things that they usually do. So like if they're usually an acrylic painter, have they been like, hey, I really wanted to get into knitting? Okay. That being said, art is very broad. I'm going to cover traditional art and I'm going to cover fiber art. So like crochet, knit, sewing, embroidery, and then digital art. I'm also going to include in here. I think that's it. Also like crafting art. Crafting art will also be in this video because those are the things that I know. So those are the things I can give you tips on. But if there's anything in the future that you want me to do another video on of different types of art, let me know because I have experience in a lot of things. Let's get started. I'm excited. I have my hot mocha I made, which is just hot chocolate with 2 shots of espresso in it. And I put marshmallows on top, obviously. It's not a mocha latte. Those are 2 different things. Don't get it twisted. So I split all of these up into sections and topics. So you can look down below if you need something specific. It'll be in the little thing. I did not separate them by type of art, kind of. I don't know. It's not very organized, guys. I decided to do this literally yesterday. Okay, give me some grace. So our first category is what I'm going to call studio gadgets. So these are for the studio. These are desktop things that some artists are going to need. A big one for our painters out there is an easel. Easels can be in a lot of different shapes and sizes. There's different ones for different reasons. So for example, I have a gigantic easel somewhere behind me, I think. Oh no, it's over there. I have a huge easel, but I can't use it anywhere else. It's not portable. So a portable easel would be nice. A desktop one where it's usually like a flat piece of wood and you can adjust it. They sell them at Michael's, they sell them on Amazon. Those are nice. Those are easy for small spaces if somebody has a small studio or they really just don't feel like getting an easel all the time. It's a great thing to use. Also good for sketchbooks. They also have traveling easels, which I really, really love. They're essentially like a backpack, or they can fit inside of a bag, but they're easels that you can go on a hike or something, and then you're like, oh, that's a pretty picture, and then you unfold your easel. It's really cool. So traveling easels, studio, full-size easels, and table easels are great ideas. If you're into content creating, a light tripod. I don't know if a lot of you have seen it. I see it all the time because I get artist ads, but there's a brand called the Canvas ring light or something like that. I'll put it right here. They make this tripod light thing where it's essentially a mini ring light, but it's attached to a tripod and it's good for just a desk and for people who just want to do a little bit of filming, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They don't want to have a full setup. It's just something small, it's easy, and it has everything that you need to record your art. And so if this person either posts on Instagram their stuff, or they're trying to be a content creator, they are a content creator, or they genuinely just want to be able to record their art, that's a great gift. I'm gonna say that's a great gift after everything. I just feel like I am very repetitive, and I'm sorry. A light for your desk or your easel or wherever you're working at. There are these clip lights that you can get from Michael's. You can get them on sale if you can catch the sale and use coupons. Always use coupons at Michael's. Do not go to Michael's and not use a coupon. You're wasting your money. There's these lights and you can clip them to anything. I love them. I use them for my easels. I can clip it onto my easel and do that. I even use it for filming. I'm using it literally right now. You see that light on my hand? It's the light I use for my easel. I also use it for my sketchbooks. It's great. I'm gonna actually show it to you. It's this thing. It's great. It has a clip to it. You can clip it onto anything and it's very handy. Mine's breaking because I use it all the time. Yeah, that's a good gift. It's a useful gift. It's not one of those things where they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted. It's going to be like, oh, I needed one of these. And then my last one is for my digital artist girls, the iPad stand or iPad board. There is a company called Sketchboard. They make really good iPad boards. It just makes it more comfortable for digital artists who are always doing digital art. It's more important for digital artists who are constantly doing art. I feel like if they're just like casual digital artists or they really just don't do it a lot, like they do it like maybe every once in a while they'll pull out the iPad and start drawing on it and da-da-da. It might not be as useful for them, but someone you know is always on their iPad. You know the friend who they're always on their iPad, no matter where you're at, they're for some reason drawing. If they have an Android, they have the little stylus and they're drawing on their Android. I love them. But those type of people, I think it would help them. Our next category is going to be general art supplies. So this is just for general use. You know, you can put it in your bag, you can carry it around, things that every artist will probably need. This is a good, safe option. My first one is a paint palette. Again, with the paint palette, same thing as the easel, it comes in different forms. So, you know, you have like the basic ones, which I don't suggest getting the basic ones. I mean, when I say paint palette, I mean like nice quality. You can get, if you want just like a basic palette, think Bob Ross. Think like that type of palette. You can get them one of those. There's a lot of customizable ones. If you go on Etsy, there's so many different types. There's like resin ones, which are really pretty. A glass palette would be a good option as well. Refillable palettes are also great for watercolor artists and gouache artists because you can fill up your little sections and then close it and you can use it again tomorrow. I actually have one, but I don't think I have it with me. Yes, I do. So this is a palette, and it also leads into our next point. But this I got off of Amazon. I use it for my acrylic gouache. It's like this. You can open it up. You can push out the palette. It's actually kind of not the easiest thing in the world, but it's not hard. This is the palette. It opens up again into the silicone lid. And then you can open it up like that, paint it, and then put the silicone lid back on. And it keeps it from drying out, which is really good because I don't like jelly gouache, and so I use tube gouache, and then it's really hard for me to travel with it because then I have to squeeze out all my tubes and then I waste a bunch of paint and da-da-da-da. So this is incredibly helpful, and it also comes inside of a water cup. So travel, if you know your artist likes to travel, if you know your artist likes to go out in nature and paint, travel items are probably your best bet for those. My next point was like a paint bowl, or also paint bowl / palette. I'm thinking those can go together. There's a lot of these like ceramic bowls that a lot of people like. These like homemade ceramic painted and constructed paint bowls and palettes. They usually go together. You can also get them separately. You can again find them on Etsy. You can find them throughout Instagram. There's a lot of artists that do it. A lot of ceramic artists make them. Very cute, very pretty. And honestly, just a good gift made by an artist, so an artist is probably gonna love it. You can also get other paint bowls, again, like a travel one. My next point is for our digital artists, an Apple Pencil case. I lose my Apple Pencil constantly. I have not made any digital art all year because I lost my pencil like 3 months ago. I found it randomly on the floor under a piece of paper the other day, so now I can get back to my work. But it also protects the Apple Pencil, and you can put tips in it so that you can change them out as they go. I think it's a good idea. I think all these are good. I need to stop saying that. I feel like I'm saying that for every single item. Of course it's a good idea. I came up with it. That brings us to our iPad cases. There are certain ones made for artists. So if you know your friend's iPad case is falling apart, it's not doing well, maybe look for a case for them. Get in their favorite color. They have ones that stand up on their own for artists so that they don't have to draw like this. Travel case for supplies. So I feel like a lot of my points for this one are kind of circling back to each other. Of course, that's one. But I'm thinking of like pencil cases. If you know someone who carries around that tin of Prismacolor colored pencils, they just carry it around. And I say that because I'm that person, because I just keep my stuff in the tin that the Prismacolors came in because I'm too cheap to buy a pencil case. They literally sell a nice, sleek pencil case for those pencils. They sell one at Michael's that you can go get. My husband has one, and I just use his pencils because mine just aren't in a cozy little case. So I always take his whenever I go traveling. That is a really good. There's different ones. You can, again, Etsy is always an option. Customized ones, you can get small ones for tiny travel. You can get big ones for big travel. Again, depends on your artist, depends on what they need. Always cater to the need that they need. I said what I said, and I meant what I meant. Also, again with travel, artist bags are so useful. I feel like so many artists just throw their stuff in a tote, and then we get frustrated that it's just in a tote, and I just have a bunch of stuff in this big bag. You could find cute bags at like a thrift store, but if you want to get them like a special travel bag, you could get them like a nice laptop bag. They have like bags that kind of look like thick totes, and I don't mean like the ones you get for free at the supermarket. I mean like travel tote type bags, and they have sections on the outside for your pencils or crochet hooks or knitting needles, and they have sections on the inside. It's specifically built for artists. That's a really good one. Or if you want to keep it more affordable, go to like a Goodwill or a thrift store of some type and just look for a really nice bag. I found some really good leather bags in my day, and then go after what they specifically do. So if they do knitting and crochet, there are knitting and crochet bags. There are bags that literally hold your yarn for you. Ooh, I have a gift for knitters and crocheters that I just thought of. I'm gonna put it in the list. I do have a section for fiber artists. And then last thing on the general list is a cute sketchbook. There's so many customized sketchbooks. The main thing about artists is that if you don't know what to get them something customized, because if it's made by another artist, they're gonna love it. Artists love artists. That's just it. And so customized sketchbooks, people make them, people bookbind. It's an art form. People do it. People embroider. It's a beauty. There's companies that make sketchbooks with cool covers on them. They're usually cheaper if they're not made by someone else, but if they are, it's a good time. Okay, that's an easy one. If you can't think of something, you know they use sketchbooks, get them a nice, cute, customized sketchbook or personalized. I feel like I'm saying customized. Not everything has to be customized, but like personalized, something that feels like them. So next is for our beginner artists, because we just went over like all of our generic art stuff, and yeah, that's cool for some people that do art. But before we really get into the nitty-gritty of everything else, I want to make sure I'm getting my beginner artists and I'm making sure you guys are seen. So there's different types of beginner artists. There are like the beginners who haven't started. There are the beginners who have been doing this for a year but are still kind of iffy and still don't fully know what they want to do. And they know they want to do art, but they've dabbled in some things. They don't know what they love yet. And I think that's the only two. Pre-beginners is what I'll call them. The pre-beginners, they don't know what they want yet. They don't know where to even start. And then the beginners who have kind of started are kind of in the same position. Like they've tried things out, but they don't necessarily know where they want to go. Like it's just so broad. And it's like, okay, I got my foot in the door. Now what? So my biggest thing for them is I genuinely believe that their best bet from you is a kit, is an art kit. An art basket, if you will, if you want to make it fancy and cute. I always put everything in a basket. It makes it cuter. Now, this one's going to lead for a little bit more work from you, okay? Because I don't think that you should get the pre-made art kits. Pre-made art kits suck. They're bad. They're not good. If you find one that's good, let me know, because all of them are terrible. You go on Amazon and you're like, art kits. You're going to find the cheap, unbranded stuff. You're going to discourage all the artists that you're even getting it for. And I mean that in the kindest way. I'm trying to say it in the kindest way. The one thing I don't want you to do is discourage a beginner artist. I'd rather you just not get them a gift. Does that mean? I like to protect our beginners. Like our beginners get so scared. I remember being a beginner. I was scared. To be fair, I was a child, so it was less scary. But when you're older, beginning is hard. And if you give them bad supplies, they're going to think it's their fault if the painting doesn't come out well, because bad supplies sometimes are just so bad that you can't do anything with them. Now, there's bad supplies you can do stuff with. So if you're on a budget, I'll give you my honest opinions about some cheap supplies that some people usually dog on. If it's really bad cheap supplies, I genuinely rather you just not get them at all. But you can do whatever you want. I'm just posting a video. So I have 2 different types of art kits, and then I have a non-art kit option that I'll give you afterwards. So our first option is going to be a general beginner guide to art type kit. You're going to want to get all the supplies. I'll give you some ideas. You can get really whatever you want, whatever brand you want. I would always say go Scholar or a little bit better, but don't go full on advanced products, and don't go fully cheap for like 3-year-olds products. So for the general kit, I would say get a pack of colored pencils. You can get the Scholar ones by Prismacolor. I personally don't really like the Scholar Prismacolors, but they're fine for beginners. Beginners will be fine with them. They have a small pack and a big pack. The small pack I think is like $10 to $15. I want to say it's 15, and then the big pack is about 30. But if you're on a budget, get the 15, and if you're going to Michael's, use a coupon. Get a pack of microns. They again have a small, medium, and big pack. Microns, the small pack is the 3-pack, and I do believe it has the 0.3, 0.5, and 0.8 if I'm not wrong. The medium pack would be my suggestion, but I think the medium pack is about 20 as well. The small pack is 10. Do not get the big pack. They don't need the big pack. They're not ready for that. A mixed media sketchbook. You can get them a drawing sketchbook as well. I do think that they should have a mixed media sketchbook because they're going to need it for our last point, but a mixed media sketchbook. If you go small, get them like a 5x7. I think it's 8x5 is I think what the sketchbooks do. I don't recommend getting a big sketchbook for beginners. It would overwhelm them. Do not get them a 9x12 and up. I think it's better to have a smaller space so that it can make them feel like they're doing more. It's all about the psychology with starting a new craft. Oh, and then the last thing in that kit, to add variety, would be, you can also add pencils. I didn't put pencils because you don't necessarily need artist pencils, but they're really useful and they're not that expensive. So add pencils to that kit if you can. They have, I think Winsor Newton sells some at Michael's. I'm always gonna say Michael's because it's the easiest. Also, I know it the most. But they have like a little kit where it's like the H. I think it's like 2H, HB, and 2B, and then an eraser. And then I highly recommend getting a watercolor palette. I use one called Koi. I bought it off of Amazon and it was pretty affordable if I remember correctly. I think it was like 15 to 20. Do not get them that cheap craft one that you be seeing when you go to those sipping paints or when you were like a kid and they'd bring out the watercolors for class. Do not get them those. Get them an actual watercolor palette. If your artist wants to be a painter specifically, the list is going to be different because you're not going to get your pencils, you're not going to get the pens, you're not even going to get the sketchbook. I'm not going to let you get the sketchbook unless they want to do watercolor or gouache. That's a different situation. If they want to do watercolor or gouache, I meant to say for the last one, other than watercolor, if you don't want to do watercolor, you can also get them a jelly gouache kit because some people might be like, oh, I really like that. The jelly gouache is cool. It's not my personal favorite. I don't really like it, but I also like acrylic gouache. That being said, if all this is way too expensive and you know they want to do gouache, get them a Himi gouache set, some paint brushes, and a sketchbook. Paint packs. Liquitex makes a really good beginner basics version of the paint packs. Blick Supplies also has that. If you live near a Blick, if you live in a city, you usually have a Blick. If you have a Blick, go to them. They have a big pack of basic paint. I've used it in the past. I don't have a problem with it. Liquitex is essentially the same exact thing. For affordability, if you absolutely need to, you could get the Craft Smart craft paint. I don't suggest it, but they're not bad. I've painted with them endless times. I think I painted with them until like 2 years ago when I finally was like, okay, let me splurge on some good paints. They're fine for beginners. A lot of people will hate them, but I don't think there's really that big of a problem with them. They come in endless colors. They have a pack that you can literally buy for 20 bucks. So if they're like super beginner, and especially if they're younger, go ahead and give them that Craft Smart paint. If they're older, if they're like more of an adult, I would say get them maybe Liquitex. Something about the Craft Smart gives child to me. I think it's just because I grew up painting with them, and so in my mind they're more for children, but they work fine as paints. I don't know. You need canvases. You cannot paint with acrylic inside of a sketchbook. I get watercolor paper and I paint with acrylic sometimes inside my sketchbook, but I don't recommend it, especially for beginners because they're going to use a lot of water and a lot of paint. It's going to get really caked up and it's going to tear the paper. Get them canvases. At Michael's, they have flat, thin canvases. They're cheaper and they're easier, and they're probably better for beginners because they're portable and they can store really easy. They probably don't have a space to store a bunch of canvases. So get the thin ones, the canvas boards. I really like them. I used to use them back in the day. You can get like a stack of like 5 of them for like $6 or something like that, depending on what size you get. Oh, paintbrushes. Paintbrushes. I didn't say paintbrushes for the last one. Get paintbrushes. They need paintbrushes. Make sure you're getting brushes for this specific medium. If you're doing watercolor or gouache, get watercolor paintbrushes. Acrylic, there are acrylic brushes. Get those. They have the packs at Michael's. Read the reviews. There are the really cheap ones that you use for crafting, and then there's the actual acrylic brushes. Get the actual acrylic brushes. For the beginners, the pack is fine. The pack is fine. The one in the little Ziploc, it's fine. Just get those. Brushes I feel like are one of those things where as long as you don't get the crafting ones, you can do whatever you want. It really does not matter. I buy cheap brushes to this day all the time. For beginners, for non-kits, you can get any of the things I just said, just not in a kit. Just make sure it's coming with something that they can use it for. So like if you're getting them colored pencils but they don't have paper, get them some paper. Get them a sketchbook. If you're doing gouache or watercolor, get them a sketchbook, get them some paintbrushes. All right, so next section, we're gonna go over our fiber art people, or people who wanna get into fiber art. So we're gonna start with the beginners. So this would be under the umbrella of our crocheters, our knitters, and our sewers, and a dabble in embroidery. Woobles for crochet. I'm sure you've seen them. They're the ones with little kits and you can make the little stuffies. They're very cute. I've never used them, but I've heard some good things about them. I've heard some bad things about them, but I've seen them. Again, read reviews. I feel like that's #1 tip. Read the reviews and go on Reddit. That's just what you have to do. Also, heads up, if your artist already crochets, do not get them a wooble. Unless they ask, unless they really want one, because they already know how to make it. There's different types of crochet and they might want to dabble in a different type of crochet, but they don't know how to get into it. Then you can get them a kit for that specific thing. But if they already crochet, especially if they already make plushies, don't get them a wooble. They already know how to make it. They already know how to make it. They're probably not going to make it because they could make anything. So like physically make anything they want. Why would they make a wooble? That's just in my head. But I also might be wrong. Your person might be specifically like, hey babe, I want a wooble. And give them a wooble. Knitters do not have woobles. But they do have other knitter packs. There are packs specifically made for knitters. Make sure, disclaimer for these, there are a lot of AI knitting kits and crochet kits out there right now. You need to be very attentive to what you're buying. A lot of them are fake, and they'll get them, they'll try to knit it, and it won't happen. It just won't come together because it's made by AI. We're having an issue with a lot of AI patterns happening. You need to know what you're buying, okay? I can't help you there. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. Ask Reddit, ask the reviews, look at it. Know what you're buying, review it when you get the package. These things will help. So this next one is not only just for beginners, it's for everybody, for all our knitters and crocheters. Books for specific stitches and patterns. There's a lot of styles of knitting and crocheting, and I feel like, yes, you could go and look them up, but you're not gonna know about them unless you see them. They have books for them, and they're really cool. And if you can find a really good one, if you can find one that's kind of reminds you of the person that's doing this art form, I think that's a good idea. I've always kind of wanted to get into like knitting books, but I can't justify buying them. If I had one, I'd probably use it. Stitches specifically, styles of things specifically, patterns, like not like reading a pattern, but like patterns in like the physical sense. Very cool. I feel like that will be helpful to a lot of artists. Another book specifically for knitters that are not beginners, there's a book called The Colorwork Bible. I've been wanting to get it because I want to learn how to color work properly. And I've heard it's a very, very good tool for knitters who are either struggling with their color work or trying to learn color work. So the Colorwork Bible is a good one as well for more advanced knitters. For a beginner, an embroidery kit. They sell kits. And I don't mind you getting these kits. I've had one. They come in a big bag. I would suggest not using the bag and putting them in a cute little box so that it's presentable. But they usually sell them in a bag. It's a bunch of rings that you embroider in, and it has the cloth that you embroider through, and then it has the needles and it has the yarn that you use for embroidery. It usually has everything you need. It's a quick buy, put it in a nice presentation, and give that as a gift if they want to get into embroidery. It's also a really good one if you know that if your person is just really into fibers already, like if they're already into crochet and knit, they might be into embroidery, and it might just be a good gift to get them. Okay, so the gift that I had come up with earlier that I put on my list. I, a few months ago, had seen this huge hoodie. It's essentially a hoodie, but I don't know if it's that brand. I think it might be a different one. But instead of the pockets being on the side, it's in the middle. And it's huge. And I've seen people like put their cats and stuff in them. And I'm like, that's really cute. And then it clicked. What if I put my yarn in there and I crochet and I'm sitting there and I have yarn in my kangaroo sack and I'm knitting? I think that's a really good idea. If you have a knitter or a crocheter, that one's good. Also for knit and crochet, customized hooks. I don't know if knitters have customized needles because knitting's a little bit more technical. So I don't think they have room to customize as much. You can look into it though. I'm sure Etsy has some type of something. Customized crochet hooks. I have a few where it's a regular crochet hook on the top, and usually it's just they design the bottom of the hook. It's like the ergonomic handle, except it has like a character or something on it, or it has like resin with floral or something like that. We might do rapid fire for the last bit here, because I definitely have to go and leave. I don't have a lot for sewing because sewing is very specific. Sewing is usually project by project, but if they do a lot of patchwork, if they do like patchwork clothes or quilting, really unique fabric squares would be a good one. They usually sell quilting squares in a pack. Those would be an interesting one to get. This is rapid fire. This is art specifics. If you're getting for experienced artists, say they've been painting with Craftsmart their entire life, but you know they want high level paints but they just can't afford them, then this is a good list. But if they already paint with these things, if they already utilize these things, I do not think that these would be a good idea to get people. That's just my opinion. But if they already use these on a day-to-day basis, I don't think these are good gifts. But if they don't use them, if they don't have them, if they can't afford them, if they haven't gotten them, if they haven't tried it out, whole different situation. These ones you have to know your artist well. I call this specific art supplies, but we're gonna call this art brands. These are just my 2 cents, what I've used that I really like. Acrylic paint, Golden and Liquitex are really good. If you're gonna get Liquitex, get the high-end ones. They're the one in the white bottles. Watercolor, Arteza. Love Arteza. I will say, one thing I would get them if you know they do watercolor and you haven't seen it in their paintings. Arteza has a metallic pan set. Metallics are so fun. You don't even have to get the Arteza one, but a metallic watercolor set is absolutely so fun. I'll say for any of these, if they have metallic anything, get them some metallic. Like, I just feel like it adds something to their work. Gouache, if you want to do jelly gouache, the Maya, the huge Maya palette, I actually have one over there. I like it more than the Himi gouache. If they're not a huge jelly gouache person like me, Hoblin's acrylic gouache is my favorite. I do love Hoblin's acrylic gouache. That's the one that I actually have right inside of here. It's so pigmented. I love it. It's beautiful. Colored pencil, I've only ever used Prismacolor. I've never had a problem with them, so I just use those. But there's other good brands out there. Again, ask Reddit for that. Pastels, they use pastels. Faber-Castell is a really good brand. I think Prismacolor also makes some. I think I've used Prismacolor. I was fine with it, but I'm not a pastel girl, so can't give you that opinion too much. But I know Faber-Castell is a highly loved pastel in the art community. These 2 things are things that you absolutely can get artists if they're an acrylic artist, or if they're a painter, or they do stuff on paper. Posca markers. I've been wanting Posca markers for so long. They're so expensive and I can't justify getting them. They're acrylic markers. They're really fun. They are expensive, but a nice little set, big set, whatever you can get. Posca markers are a great option, as well as Ohuhu markers. So Ohuhu is Copic's direct competitor. I like Ohuhu more than I like Copic, and they're 20 million times cheaper. If your person likes Copic, you can splurge on some Copic, go ahead. But if they're not like ride or die Copic people, Ohuhu markers are so amazing. Get the brush tips, get the one with the brush tip, and have a ball. Just make sure they don't already have the big pack. Stationery kits for our crafters. Our crafters are going to like a stationery kit. There's so many of them, guys. There's so many of them. There's ones with like straight, I can't think of any of these words right now. What's that stationery tape thing called? Washi tape. There's one that are like straight washi tape. There's one where it's like a bunch of vintage papers. There's ones that are there's kits that are based off of a specific artist. So they'll have like a sketchbook of I saw one for Monet, and it was like a sketchbook for Monet, and it was really pretty, and it had washi tapes based off of Monet's paintings, and it had like papers based off of Monet's paintings, and all these things, and it was really cool. Stationery kits are a great option for crafters and people you know who like to journal. Expensive gifts, really quick right off the bat, because I don't have to explain these. iPad and Apple Pencil. They want to illustrate, iPad and Apple Pencil. You can also get them tablets if they don't like iPads or anything like that. If they've like made it clear that they don't want that, I always recommend iPad and Apple Pencil because honestly it's so easy. I've tried so many things. I've tried Wacom, I've tried whatever the heck we used to use back in college, but I like the iPad the most. iPad and Apple Pencil, Cricut machine, if they want to get into making stickers and stuff like that, Cricut machine are very expensive. I love it. I've always loved Cricut machines. I used to use it for scrapbooking back in the day. Now I use it for stickers and stuff like that. Cricut Explore 3 is the one I have. I love it. I love it. I love it. So Cricut Explore 3. Sewing machine. Sewing machines for our sewers and people who want to get into sewing, as well as they have ones that are both a sewing machine and an embroidery machine. The Brother machines have a version that is both an embroidery and a sewing machine. I got one from my sister back in the day. It's a cool machine. That's an idea. I think it's like $500 though. It's expensive. Okay, all this stuff is expensive. That's all expensive. That's all like 300 and up. You need to do your research on all three of those, okay? Because different iPads and there's different iPad pencils. If you get the iPad, not all the pencils go with the iPads, okay? Know which one you're getting and know which ones are compatible. Because then you're going to give them a pencil and an iPad that don't go together. My last section, okay? My last section, rapid fire, I called stocking stuffers. Now, these are not necessarily stocking stuffers, but they're kind of just like the extra stuff that I had on the side that I didn't know what to put, and I didn't know where to put it. Okay, so these things are not going to fit in stockings, and they're not going to be the price of a stocking stuffer. But they're, thanks. First one, art book of favorite historical artists. They have a bunch at Barnes & Noble. Sometimes they're on sale. I had two. I have one for Van Gogh and one for Monet. I love them. I love them. I genuinely look through them and I get inspired because I see all these paintings that I didn't know that these artists were making, and it really just helps me see their progression, their story. It helps motivate me. Like Monet didn't even pay his water lilies till he was like 50. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm only 23. And I learned that from the book, and it's really cool. Art book of your favorite artists. Modern artists also have their own art books too. So if you know their favorite artist, look into them. Art books that are made for artists. So actual art books. I call them artist self-help books, but they're really useful. We had to read them back in college and I fell in love with them. So anything by Austin Kleon is a good idea. He's the one who did Steal Like an Artist, which I read back in college. And then The Artist Way is a big one that a lot of people love. And then color theory books also might be good, but that one's one that you kind of have to know your artist a little bit more. For my Christians, there is a pastor. His name is Matt Tommy, and I've watched a lot of his sermons and I really enjoy him. And he talks about being an artist in the Lord's kingdom, and it's really good. He's helped me out of like a lot of my slumps and a lot of my like overthinking and not understanding where I belong in this world. And he kind of has helped me separate my life in this world and my life in the Lord's kingdom and what I'm supposed to do. And he has written a few books. I can't fully recommend his books because I haven't read them, so I can only tell you so much, but I do know that he is someone whose voice I do trust. If you don't know if you want to trust those books yet, because you don't know either, his sermons are on YouTube and you can watch them and they're really cool. But I just want to put that in there because I want to read those books. I found out about him like 3 days ago and I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know he wrote books too. So last three, sticker book for collectors. There's a lot of artists who like to collect stuff, who like to get stickers off of things, who like to buy a bunch of stickers and don't have anywhere to put them. They make specific sticker books where you can put stickers in it so that the stickers can be reused over and over again, and that they can have them organized in a little booklet so they can carry it around and use it on their journaling and crafting. Coloring books. I don't know about paint by number. Paint by number is for very specific people. Not all people like paint by number. Not all artists like paint by number. But coloring books are a very good way for artists to be able to be creative without actually having to be creative. And then my last one is miniatures and book nooks. These are going to be around $40-ish, but they are very fun. Again, being creative without having to be creative. They can build stuff, they can interact with it, they can do stuff that they want, and they can put it in their bookshelves, they can put it where they want. Those are really cool. I think a lot of artists would really enjoy those. But yeah, that's my list. Oh my gosh, it took forever. That was a long list. And I hope that I covered enough. I feel like I didn't cover too much for my digitals or my crafters, and I'm so sorry, but crafters are the easiest to buy things for. Go on Etsy and look at stationery. And my digitals, you guys don't need a lot. You guys are very low maintenance. Digital, you can get them one of those gloves, maybe, or something comfortable. Digital artists need more comfort. That's what they need. That is my list. I actually have somewhere to be, so I do need to wrap this up. I barely even drank my damn coffee. But yeah, if there's anything I forgot and you have any good ideas, leave them down in the comments. I gotta go. I'll see you guys on the next ARTMAS, whenever that'll be. Hopefully it'll be next week. And yeah, have a wonderful week. And do something good for yourself today. Do something to make you happy. All right.